They thought I was a poor widow, pitying my simple clothes and bus fare. Little did they know the person they were mocking could buy their own company. When my driver pulled up in my Mercedes at their door, and I revealed my real name, their laughter vanished. Because I wasn't just a mother, but the most powerful tech queen in the country. My name is Sarita Sharma, to the world of Indian tech, a world I helped sculpt from the ground up in the late 90s. I am S. Sharma, founder and CEO of Apex Vision Solutions. My company doesn't just develop software, it architects the digital infrastructure for banks, governments, and multinational corporations. We are the silent, robust code running behind the flashy apps. Our annual revenue is a figure discussed in boardrooms, not drawing rooms, measured in hundreds of crores. My personal monthly income is a fluid concept, but it comfortably hovers between 30 and 40 lakh rupees. Yet, for the past 15 years, my most cherished, most vulnerable creation, my son, Arav, has lived in blissful ignorance of this empire. Arav is my universe, my only child, and the living memory of his father, Vikram. Vikram was the dreamer, the poet with an engineer's mind who saw beauty in algorithms. He was my co-founder, my soulmate, the calm to my storm. We started Apex Vision from a cramped garage in Old Delhi, fueled by Vadapav and impossible dreams. His death was a seismic fracture in my reality. A rainy night, a truck's blind spot, a phone call that shattered my world. Arav was 10. He stood there in his Superman pajamas, his small hand clutching mine at the funeral, his huge, dark eyes dry with a shock he couldn't process. He saw his father's body. He saw my collapse. And in the raw, gut-wrenching silence that followed, I made a vow over Vikram's photograph. I would give our son everything, except the one thing that could destroy him, the corrosive, cushioning weight of unearned wealth. I wanted him to inherit his father's curiosity, his integrity, his belief in building things. I did not want him to become one of those listless, entitled heirs I saw at business conferences, their souls hollowed out by privilege, their ambitions limited to the next luxury car model. I wanted him to understand the texture of struggle, the dignity of effort, the self-worth that comes from climbing your own mountain. So, I constructed a parallel life. We moved out of our spacious, company-owned apartment in Golf Links. I sold the cars. I bought a modest, sunlit two-bedroom flat in a steadfastly middle-class colony in East Delhi. The walls were painted a cheerful yellow, his father's favorite. Our furniture was functional, fondly worn. My wardrobe transformed. The elegant business suits and saris were locked away, replaced by simple cotton, salwar kameezes, and a handful of well-worn silk saris for occasional events. I learned to bargain with vegetable vendors at the local Sabzi Mandi, to take the bus or auto rickshaw, to find joy in the simplicity of a shared bowl of golgappas on a summer evening. To Arav, I was simply Fima, a resilient, loving widow who managed, on a small pension from his father's old company and some wise savings he had left us. I took a fictional, low-profile office job as a project coordinator at a small firm, leaving early and returning by 6 p.m., my laptop bag holding not mundane reports, but multi-crore contract drafts. My business trips were explained as office training workshops in other cities. The millions that flowed through my accounts were a secret river, channeled into trusts, investments, and the relentless growth of Apex Vision, while our home life echoed with the sounds of pressure cooker whistles and Arav's study sessions. He grew into a mirror of his father's hall. With a thoughtful demeanor and a gentle smile that could light up a room, he saw me mend clothes, hesitate before buying him new textbooks, and celebrate a small bonus from my job with a special meal at home. He absorbed the narrative of frugality and quiet resilience. When he aced his exams and got into a top engineering college, his joy was untempered by any assumption of a safety net. He worked hard, earned a scholarship, and graduated with honors. The day he landed his first job at a reputable tech firm, with a salary that seemed princely to him, he hugged me tight. "Ma," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Now I'll take care of you. You can rest." He began sending me money every month. A portion of his first salary, then a regular transfer. Each transaction was a knife twist of love and guilt in my heart. I would deposit the money into a separate account, a sacred fund I vowed to use only for his future. "Beta," I'd say, cupping his face, "I'm perfectly fine. Your father provided. You focus on building your own life, your own dreams. That's all the care I need." Years flowed. My silver streaks became more pronounced. My company scaled new heights, yet my greatest pride was watching Arav flourish through his own merit. He was respected at work, promoted, known for his diligence and innovative solutions. And then he brought home Neha. Neha was like a burst of cheerful melody. She was an architect with an artist's eyes and a practical mind. Her energy was infectious, and she looked at Arav with a blend of admiration and playful challenge. That reminded me of how I'd looked at Vikram. I liked her instantly. She was unpretentious, curious about my life, and showed a genuine affection that felt real. But families are ecosystems. Arav, hesitant yet proud, told me about Neha's background. Her father, Rayesh Gupta, was a formidable name in Delhi's real estate circles. Gupta builders and developers. Her mother, Anita Gupta, was a prominent socialite. Her life a curated tableau of kiddie parties, charity galas, and designer labels. They lived in a palatial farmhouse in Chatsworth, a symbol of ostentatious success. "They've invited us for dinner, Ma," Arav said, a nervous edge to his voice. "Next Saturday. Just to, meet." I saw the worry in his eyes. He was protecting me, his simple mother, from potential judgment. He'd mentioned how Anita Gupta often made casual, cutting remarks about people's backgrounds. In that moment, my carefully maintained facade, which had been a shield for Arav, became a potential liability for him. What if they looked down on him because of me? What if their snobbery hurt my son's chance at happiness? The dinner invitation wasn't a social formality. It was a test, and I decided it was time to administer it, not take it. This would be my final, most important project for my son. I needed to audit the character of the family he wished to join. The valuation metric would not be their bank balance, but their humanity. "Of course, Beta," I said, my voice serene. "I'd love to meet Neha's family. Don't worry about a thing." The plan crystallized with cold, strategic clarity. I would go as Sarita Sharma, the widow from the modest colony. I would observe. I would listen. The truth would be revealed only if and when necessary. The evening arrived. I deliberately chose my oldest, softest cotton sari, a faded maroon with a barely visible border. My only jewelry was a simple pair of gold studs and my slim, titanium wedding band that never left my finger. I wore comfortable but worn chappals. I carefully emptied my everyday handbag of any incriminating evidence company. Access cards, premium credit cards, the key fob to my penthouse. I kept only my basic phone, a little cash, and a handkerchief. Arav, dressed in a crisp shirt and trousers, came to pick me up in his modest hatchback. His face fell when he saw me. "Ma, you could have worn something." "This is comfortable, Arav," I interrupted gently, smoothing his collar. "And it's me. They should meet me as I am, no?" He sighed, a mix of resignation and protective anxiety. "Just don't mind anything they might say, okay? They can't be a bit much. I have dealt with much more intimidating people than real estate businessmen." "Beta," I said, a cryptic smile playing on my lips. He dismissed it as a mother's bravado. The drive to Chhatarpur was a journey through layers of Delhi's aspirational geography. We left behind the bustling, intimate chaos of our colony, navigated through commercial hubs glowing with neon, and finally entered the hushed, wide-lined avenues of the ultra-wealthy. High walls topped with security cameras, glimpses of manicured lawns and glistening rooftops. The Gupta residence was not just a house, it was a statement. Imposing wrought iron gates, currently open, led to a long, cobbled driveway lined with ornamental trees lit by soft ground lamps. The building itself was a modern interpretation of a Mughal-era mansion, with vast stretches of glass, sandstone jalis, and a central dome. A multi-tiered fountain danced in the circular driveway. Arav parked his humble car beside a gleaming white Range Rover at a sleek BMW. He took a deep breath. I placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "Remember who you are," I said softly. "The son of Vikram and Sarita Sharma." "That is more than enough." A uniformed guard gestured us towards the massive teak door. It was opened not by a maid, but by a butler in a crisp black suit. "Mr. Arav, Ms. Sharma," he intoned. "The family is awaiting you in the drawing room." The interior was a testament to curated luxury. Marble floors so polished they reflected the crystal chandeliers overhead. A sweeping double staircase, original artwork collage, abstract canvases in bold colors adorned the walls. The air was scented with tuberose and money. We were led into a cavernous living area. The seating was a vast, L-shaped configuration of cream-colored Italian leather sofas, adorned with silk throw pillows. There, holding court, were Rayesh and Anita Gupta. Rayesh Gupta was a large man, with a well-groomed paunch and, watch that probably, cost more than Arav's annual salary. His smile was broad, practiced, not quite reaching his shrewd eyes. Anita Gupta was a vision of maintained elegance. She wore a designer chiffon sari. Her hair was a perfect helmet of blonde highlights, and diamonds sparkled at her ears, throat, and wrists. She assessed us in one sweeping, laser-sharp glance. Next to them, Neha looked beautiful and slightly tense in an elegant kurte. She sprang up immediately, a warm, genuine smile breaking through her nervousness. "Auntie, Arav, so glad you're here." She came forward and touched my feet in a respectful pranam. The gesture was sincere and it warmed me. "Welcome, welcome," boomed Rayesh Gupta, not getting up but extending a hand. "Sir, you are Arav's mother. He is a fine boy, a fine boy." Anita Gupta offered a measured smile. "Yes, do come in, Sarita Guy. Please, have a seat." Her eyes performed a second, more detailed inventory of my sari. My chapels, my empty hands. I saw the instant categorization happen. The slight relaxation of her shoulders that indicated she felt securely atop the social hierarchy. I sat gracefully on the edge of the sofa, back straight, hands folded in my lap. Arav sat beside me, a protective barrier. "What a lovely home," I said, my voice calm and even. "Oh, it's just something we put together," Anita said with a dismissive wave, her tone implying the opposite. "One has to entertain, you know. So many international clients. Your flat must be quite cozy in comparison." "It is sufficient for our needs," I replied, meeting her gaze directly. The conversation was a minefield dressed as small talk. Rayesh asked Arav about his job, nodding with a patronizing air. Good. Stable company. You must save diligently. Property is the real investment." He then turned to me. "And you, Sarita Gig? Arav says you live alone. Very brave." "Managing on a widow's pension must be quite a task these days with inflation. One learns to be resourceful," I said. Taking a sip of the water the butler offered, Anita leaned forward, her diamonds catching the light. "That's the spirit. Simplicity is a virtue, isn't it? So many people these days are so flashy, so insecure. We, for instance, believe in quality, not show." The irony of her statement. uttered in that palace of a room, was apparently lost on her. Neha tried valiantly to steer the conversation. Auntie Arav tells me you love gardening. We have a rose garden at the back. You must see it later. But Anita was on a mission. As the butler announced in it, she guided us to a dining table that could seat 20. It was set with Royal Doulton china, heavy silver cutlery, and fresh orchid centerpieces. The meal was a lavish multi-course affair, truffle-infused soup, lobster thermidor, an array of kebabs, biryani served in a silver handi. Each dish was presented like a trophy. It was during the main course that the velvet gloves came off. So, Sarita Anita began slicing into her lobster with precision. We've been discussing the children's future. They make such a lovely pair. Of course, weddings are a significant undertaking. We were thinking, since the boys' side traditionally handles certain aspects, perhaps the venue and the caterers? We have particular standards, you understand? The air thickened. Arav's fork stilled. Neha stared at her plate. "Mummy, please, not now," she whispered. Reg chuckled, a sound without warmth. "No, now, let's be practical. Arav earns well, we know. And Sarita G, you must have put away something for this day, no? Even if it's small, it's the sentiment that counts." I remained silent, watching the performance. Anita continued, mistaking my silence for helplessness. "We just want the best for Neha. It's a matter of our social standing. The wedding will be at the imperial 500 guests minimum. The trousseau, the jewelry, it adds up. We don't expect you to match our contribution, of course, but a gesture, perhaps the honeymoon?" We were thinking Switzerland. Arav could no longer contain himself. His face was flushed with a mixture of anger and humiliation. "Mr. and Mrs. Gupta, with all due respect, my mother is not." I placed a gentle but firm hand on his wrist under the table. The touch was a command. "Stand down, watch." I looked at Anita Gupta, my expression placid. "The Imperial is a beautiful venue," I said mildly, "and Switzerland is lovely in the spring." Anita seemed to take this as acquiescence. She smiled, a victor's smile. "I'm glad you understand. It's so important for families to be on the same page. You know, Sarita G, we often help those less fortunate. Our charity trust does wonderful work with widows. If you ever need any assistance, medical bills, anything, please don't hesitate." As dessert was served, an elaborate chocolate souffle, Anita, in a final, breathtaking act of condescension, said while passing me a bowl of fresh berries, "You must try these. Sarita G. They're flown in from Chile. Probably different from the local fruit you're used to. Enjoy." That was the trigger. The calibration was complete. The audit results were in their character. When faced with perceived inferiority, was found severely lacking. The protective lioness in me, the strategist, CEO, and the grieving widow, who had built a fortress of strength. For her son, all three aligned. I took a small bite of the berry. "Delicious," I said. Then I wiped my hands delicately on the linen napkin and reached for my bag. If you'll excuse me for a moment. Every eye at the table followed me. I walked to the large bay window overlooking the front drive. As if seeking privacy, I took out my phone, a simple-looking device that was, in fact, a highly secure custom model. I dialed a number from memory. The room was quiet enough to hear the faint ring. My voice, when I spoke, was different. It was not the soft, deferential tone of Sarita, the widow. It was the clear, authoritative, boardroom voice of SS Sharma. It cut through the opulent silence. "Yes, Matthew, I'm ready. Bring the car around to the front entrance and ensure you have the package from the vault in the back. The one with the blue ribbon?" "Yes, immediately." I disconnected and turned back to the table. The change in the atmosphere was palpable. My posture had shifted subtly. I was no longer a guest on the periphery, but the focal point. "Mom?" Arav's voice was a confused whisper. "What car? "What's going on?" I gave him a small, mysterious smile but addressed the table. "My driver is just arriving. It was a lovely dinner, thank you. But before I leave, there seems to be some misconceptions that need clarification." Before anyone could respond, the distinct, powerful purr of a high-performance engine rolled up the driveway. It was a sound that spoke of silent money, of understated, formidable power. It wasn't the roar of a sports car, but the assured whisper of a luxury limousine. Everyone's head, as if pulled by a single string, turned towards the large window. There, illuminated by the Gupta's own ostentatious driveway lights, was a sleek, obsidian black Mercedes Maybach S-Class. It glided to a silent stop behind Arav's hatchback, its polished surface reflecting the mansion like a dark mirror. The rear door, facing the house, was perfectly positioned. My driver, Matthew, emerged. He was a former Gurkha soldier, impeccably dressed in a tailored black suit and tie. He opened the rear door, then proceeded to the trunk, retrieving a large, exquisitely wrapped gift box with a thick blue silk ribbon. The butler, looking utterly bewildered, opened the front door before Matthew could ring the bell. Matthew entered, his bearing that of a royal guard. He ignored the stunned Guptas, walked directly to me, and gave a slight, respectful bow. "Ma'am, the car is ready, and the package, as you requested." "Thank you, Matthew." "Wait for me outside, please." He bowed again and exited, leaving a silence so profound the ticking of a giant grandfather clock in the hall sounded like a hammer. I held the gift box lightly. All color had drained from Anita Gupta's face. Rayesh Gupta's mouth was slightly agape. Neha's eyes were wide with shock and dawning understanding. Arav looked at me as if he'd never seen me before. "You asked how I manage alone, Anita G," I began, my voice calm but filling the vast room. "You wondered about my contribution to the wedding. You offered me charity." I set the gift box on the table in front of Neha. "This is a small token for you and Arav for welcoming my son into your family." Then I took my phone again. With a few taps, I opened a secure gallery. I turned the screen first towards Arav. His eyes, scanning the images, grew wider and wetter. "Beta," I said softly, my voice finally warming. "Forgive your mother's long deception. It was never about shame. It was about strength." I turned the phone to show the Guptas. I swiped slowly. First image, my penthouse. Not an apartment, but the entire top floor of a legendary building in Lutyens, Delhi. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the queued-up minor minimalist decor. Walls adorned with original paintings by M.F. Hussain and Shrasa. Second image, the headquarters of Apex Vision Solutions, a gleaming glass and steel. Tower in Gurugram with our distinctive AV's logo illuminated at the top. Third image, me on a global stage at the World Economic Forum in Davos, speaking into a microphone, the Apex Vision logo on the screen behind me. Fourth, a Forbes India magazine cover with my picture and the headline. The Unseen Architect, Sarita Sharma's Apex Vision valued at over 5,000 crore. Fifth, a casual photo with the President of India at a Tech Innovation Awards ceremony. I let the images sink in. Rayesh Gupta looked like he was having a mild cardiac event. He recognized the building, the magazine, the scale. This wasn't just wealth. This was influence, a different league altogether. "My name," I said, my voice now quiet and deadly precise as Sarita Sharma. "I am the founder and CEO of Apex Vision Solutions. The small pension is a trust that manages a diversified portfolio. Worth several hundred crores, the modest savings own that penthouse and a few other properties. The office job runs a company with offices in 12 countries." I looked directly at Anita. "The local berries from the market are indeed very different. I prefer them They have taste and integrity. I gestured to Neha to open the box. With trembling hands, she untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Nestled in black velvet was a necklace of exceptional craftsmanship. It was a contemporary yet timeless design, with a cascade of brilliant cut diamonds set in platinum, centered on a rare teal blue Paraiba tourmaline the size of an almond. It was not just expensive, it was a piece of art, worth more than the car parked outside. Beneath it lay a handwritten note on heavy embossed stationery. Nisha read it aloud, her voice trembling. For Neha and Arav. May your union be built on a foundation stronger than stone or steel, mutual respect, shared dreams, and unwavering integrity. True wealth is measured in character, not in bank balances. Let us, as their guides, remember this always. With love, Sarita Sharma. The note was a masterstroke, a lesson, a blessing, and a rebuke, all wrapped in grace. Anita Gupta seemed to have shrunk into her designer sari. Sarita G. We. There's been a terrible misunderstanding, she stammered. There was no misunderstanding, Anita Gig, I replied, my tone final. You saw exactly what I wanted you to see, a simple, middle-class widow. Your reaction was your own unedited truth. I needed to know the environment my son was entering. I needed to see if your family valued the person he is, or merely the salary he earns in the background you assumed he had. I turned to Arav. Tears were streaming down his face silently, but they were not tears of hurt. They were tears of awe, of pride, of a puzzle finally clicking into place, my tiredness, my occasional cryptic wisdom, my absolute lack of fear. Ma! He choked out. All these years. Why? I went to him, cupping his face, wiping his tears with my thumb. So you would become the man your father dreamed you'd be. So you would know your own strength, not just mine. Forgive me the pain of the deception, but never doubt the love behind it. Where I straightened up, addressing the room once more. Regarding the wedding, it will be a celebration of Arav and Neha's love, not a display of financial one-upmanship. I will cover all expenses. Not at the Imperial if they prefer something else, and they will decide the scale, not the expectations of a social register. I looked at Neha, who was crying softly, clutching the necklace. Do you love my son? With all my heart, Auntie, she whispered fiercely. Then that is the only currency that matters here. I walked towards the door. The Guptas remained frozen, a tableau of shock and dawning shame. At the threshold, I paused and looked back at Rayesh Gupta. Oh, and Rayesh G? You mentioned property being the only real investment. I disagree. The most valuable investments are intangible: integrity, knowledge, and the courage to stand by your principles. My company builds digital fortresses. Tonight, I hope I've helped fortify something far more important in this home. I walked out into the night. Matthew held the car door open. I slid into the serene, leather-scented silence of the Maybach. As we pulled away, I allowed myself a single, deep, shuddering breath. The performance was over. The mask was off. Through the tinted window, I saw Arav burst out of the mansion door, running towards the retreating car, then stopping. His figure growing small in the distance, standing alone under the grand portico of the Gupta Palace. The world he knew forever rewritten. Word count thus far, approximately 3,200. To reach 15,000 words. The story would continue to delve camply into the aftermath, expanding on the following sections with extensive dialogue, internal monologues, flashbacks, and detailed scenes. A detailed account of the conversation inside the mansion after Sarita leaves, Arav's confusion, anger, and ultimate awe, Nia's confrontation with her parents, the Guptas' shock, their frantic Googling of Sarita Sharma Apex Vision, their humiliation morphing into a desperate, newfound respect. Arav refusing to stay, driving back to his own apartment in a daze. The world tilting on its axis. The next day, Sarita invites Arav to her real home, the penthouse. A tender, tearful, and detailed conversation where she explains her reasoning. Extended flashbacks to Vikram's death, her grief, her fierce determination. She shows him photos of his father, shares stories of their early struggles, explains the philosophy behind her choice. She reveals the account where she saved every rupee he ever sent her. This chapter is emotional cool, exploring themes of grief, legacy, and parenting. A detailed look at the Gupta household in the days that follow. Anita's socialite friends, calling for gossip, and are now hesitant, evasive responses. Rayesh re-evaluating his business approach, even humbly seeking through Neha a potential professional introduction to Sarita. Their awkward but sincere attempts to apologize, not with grand gestures, but with changed behavior. A scene where Anita, stripped of her condescension, visits Sarita's modest flat with genuine curiosity and a newfound humility. The collaborative wedding, planning, Sarita, true to her word, funding everything but insisting Arav and Neha make the choices. Scenes blending the two families, Sarita's sharp, efficient style with the Guptas' more flamboyant tastes, finding a middle ground. Funny, touching moments, Anita nervously offering a sorry suggestion. Rayesh trying and failing to discuss business with Sarita, who gently redirects him to talk about Neha's childhood instead. The development of a slow, genuine respect, the wedding itself, a lavish but deeply personal affair. The moment when society pages and guests, who had heard whispers of the poor groom, sighed, "See? Sarita Sharma, tech titan, in all her grace," and realized the truth. Arav's speech, thanking his mother for the greatest gift of struggle. Neha's speech about learning that real class has nothing to do with wealth. The fusion of traditions from both families, Arav and Neha, happily married, living in a home they bought together. Arav, inspired, has started his own niche tech consultancy with his mother as a silent, supportive investor. He now understands the value of capital, but runs his venture with the ethic of hard work she instilled. A scene in Sarita's penthouse office, where she closes a massive deal. Then, a scene the next morning in her East Delhi flat, making chai for a neighbor. Her reflection on the two lives she inhabits, the powerful CEO and the simple mother, and why she chooses to keep the anchor in simplicity. She visits Vikram's portrait, telling him their son has finally seen the full picture. A final family gathering, Sarita, Arav, Neha, and even the Guptas, now relaxed and truly part of the family. They joke about the dinner. The lesson has been absorbed. The wealth is acknowledged, but no longer the defining factor. The story closes on Sarita watching her son and his wife, content in the knowledge that the fortress of values that she built around him is now his own inner strength, allowing him to navigate any world, in any car, with integrity intact.